This is Tales from the Cube, a podcast about call centers, what it's like to work in them, the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny and not so funny side of what it's like working in a call center. Hello, here we go with another episode of Tales from the Cube. I'm Cliff Tour, and today's episode 23019 is about call avoidance. Call avoidance is a serious problem, and some underlying causes need to be addressed to tackle it. That is what we are going to touch on in this particular episode today. So call avoidance is a number of things. They include the following: transferring callers to other departments, agents, or back to the queue, staying on the line with a customer after their issue has been resolved, and engaging in idle chat to prolong the call, staying on the line when the customer does not hang up. So if they don't hang up themselves and you're sticking around on the call and just doing nothing, basically that's call avoidance. Placing customers on hold or mute until they terminate the call. So essentially ghosting them on the call, if you will. So you're sitting there, you put them on hold. Yeah, I got to put you on hold for a moment. And you do nothing but just wait for them to drop the call. Definitely not a good thing. That's abandonment, and that's something that's not good at all. It is avoidance. Remaining in the conference mode when transferring a call. So you're consulting or you're transferring to somebody, and you stick around, you listen in, and you put yourself on mute. The term at Bell Canada that we often use was piggybacking. And it was definitely a no-no. If you got caught, it was automatically going to be a termination for you to do it. So it's not a good thing to remain in the conference mode when you've done the transfer. When you've done it, don't stay there, get out. Engaging in after-call work activities for longer than is required. Toggling between aux states or going into a non-productive aux for no reason. So for example, you might have an aux that's for use with email. Well, you're not doing an email. You're just basically going into it. Or you put yourself in after call work and you just sit there and do nothing. Or you go into another aux that you don't have permission to. Or you have, let's say, voicemail. You go in and you go into the aux for that. And you just log into your voicemail and sit there and do nothing. Toggling between aux states or going into non-productive auxes for no reasons whatsoever, that's call avoidance. Taking unnecessary or excessive breaks during peak hours. Now, we know at times that there's going to be problems with our health, right? We're going to need to go and take extra breaks here and there. But during peak times, if there's no need to, don't do it. So taking an excessive break is not really a good thing to do. I know for myself, I have a stomach problem. So, yeah, there are times I might have to take a couple of extra breaks during a shift. It's pretty rare. But I try not to do that during especially a peak time. For those in the tier 2 or 3 groups, not taking over calls or returning calls to customers after taking calls. So, let's say you take over as a tier 2 and you don't call the customer back. That's call avoidance. Or you deliberately do some other things here. And I'm going to let you know about this. And this is definitely call avoidance. It's definitely wrong to do this. Spelling in a manner that's deliberate an email address incorrectly and entering incorrect contact numbers to avoid surveys and callbacks. Doing that is a no-no. Absolutely. Now, sometimes a keying error can happen. You can make the mistake of doing that by doing so, though, in a deliberate and willful manner. You are avoiding surveys and so on and so forth. The other thing, too, I want to address with respect to our agents who are bringing calls up to us, another form of call avoidance is basically handing us calls that you just don't like. If your customer is rude, if they're nasty, and you're just like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get you somebody else to help you out with this because I think that this is the best solution. In many cases, that's true, but in a lot of cases, it's not. Or, you want to get off the call because this person is just not the cup of tea that you want to have to sip as far as dealing with them, even if they're the nicest people in the world, you know that the troubleshooting you're going to have to do is going to take you a long time, and you want to get with your buddies and friends. Escalating a call to the senior advisors group or your managerial team or to another department is call avoidance because you're not doing your job. So avoid doing that. I've had, and I still do today, have a lot of people who will call me up and say, well, I need you to take over this call, and in our campaign we have to. Okay, I take it over. But I know many of them, not all of them, but I would say it's almost a split. That split is that half of them are legitimately calling and handing over a call, and the other half are not. They're actually avoiding the call. They don't want to deal with this customer. So they go. It reminds me of the first episode of Frasier, and they go and they do this. They hand the dog over to the next person, and in this case it was Niles handing the dog. If you look at the first episode, near the end, Eddie is handed over to Frasier. Here you go. He's your problem now. And basically that's not a good thing to do, so don't do that. Disconnecting a transferred call deliberately. So disconnecting somebody who's transferred over to you, like they get transferred over and the guy's on the other line and they're starting to scream at you and you go, just hang up. No. You still need to take the call. It is important that you continue with that customer, because the bottom line is you're doing something that's a no. It's call avoidance. Definitely don't do this ever, because if it gets caught, you're going to face some corrective action. But there are some reasons as well that are legitimate, and these are reasons that we need to take into account. So the reasons why agents do this are as follows. In a lot of cases, it's not necessarily a willful thing. It's an actual thing that's happening because of outside forces and outside things and internal stuff. So for example, dealing with demanding customers. Yeah, people will avoid calls because they're dealing with people who are just, frankly speaking, despicable individuals. I can tell you right now, I'm working on a case with a customer who's just a very despicable individual. I have to deal with them now. It's my job. But they're just despicable in every way, shape, or form. But I still have to help them out. Okay, it's my job to do that. Burnout, high turnover rates, low wages, and dealing with vulgar people on and off the phones. I sort of mentioned it before, or just moments ago here. You're burned out. It's just awful, the call center that you're in. You're seeing people leave and come and go, whether it's managers, HR, things like that. The wage is just awfully low. It's just not even a living wage. And you're dealing with vulgar people, not only on the call, but off the phones. You're dealing with managers who are just vulgar. And I'm going to just near the end of this particular episode, I'm going to talk a bit about anger and how to manage oneself. What I'm going to speak to at the end of the podcast here, because I think it's important to talk about the rising problem of anger and upset, and it's due to a lot of factors outside of call center. And I'll get into that, but it's going to be at the end of the podcast. But anyway, let's move on. Poor training, a hostile work environment, or one that is toxic. It's also going to do that. And ridiculous goals and unreasonable demands by managers. There are some really ridiculous things that we are asked to do. I'll get into that in a minute as well. So some call centers are disgusting. They're just cesspools. The staff are crammed into tiny cubicles. The carpets smell like pee. There are critters running around on the floor. The managers are vulgar people with little respect for the team, and the job pays little to nothing. The bonuses offered for sales are virtually unattainable because you have to produce a ridiculous number of sales to get them. Yes, I have worked in some of these places, and believe me, it was for a very short period of time. Thankfully, I was out of there real quick because it was just awful. Now, that said, there are some excellent call centers out there. Okay, call centers, for the most part, generally speaking, have improved over the decades, and there's a lot of really good places to work. So it's not all bad, but there have been some, like I said, it's like, I don't want to I'm going to wash myself when I go home. It's like, this is icky. Just awful places. Along with that are some other factors that play into the call avoidance problem. Agents may sometimes dump calls looking for more suitable ones in their place to gain resolution on the original call. So basically what we're looking for, what they're seeing, or what they are looking for, or what they are trying to see is an easy call to do because it lowers the AHT, lowers the ACW, the resolution's there. The stats basically kind of get manipulated, if you will. So that's why they're doing that, because they would just want to clean it up in such a way that their metrics look good because they're on the hook for something. Because we do get called out for that. If your metrics are not that great in a call center, as an agent, you're going to be called out for that. So agents will dump calls basically and seek out better ones based on the fact that, hey, at least I'm going to get a better resolution. My ACW is going to go down, my AHT is going to go up, my CSAT rate is going to get better. Cool. So they do it in a deliberate manner. So that's one reason why you will see that. So there are ways that managers should deal with call avoidance. The first step is to look at the environment. Creating a clean workspace, ergonomically solid for the staff is a start. Okay, making sure that your call center is tidy, it's neat, it's bright, it doesn't smell like a carcass. Okay, and I know I'm going on a little bit about this, but I literally have been in call centers, like I say, that smell awful. I mean, like pee and barf. It's disgusting. Come on, really, you're supposed to be professionals. Good God, I mean, what can I say? If you're running a call center, run it professionally. It's just a matter of pride. That it just gets under my skin talking about this. The idea that you're going to be a pig. I just don't get it, and I don't want to get it, because the bottom line is, come on, you're bringing people into this environment, and it's dirty, it's dark, it's dingy, it's cramped. No, please don't do that to your staff. Make sure the space is bright, ergonomically sound. It is fit for people to be in, and there's nothing that's going to crawl up people's legs. That's just a given and a health and safety matter that you need to take into account. And sadly, there are call centers still out there like this, but like I said, the majority are much, much better. And creating that clean workspace and ergonomically sound solid, suited for staff place is going to be your best bet. Making sure to hire lower management staff who are capable, proactive, and respectful is another. Okay, it's very important to have people who are solid individuals who care about their work, who care about their teams. You don't have to be super nice and, oh, gee, Johnny, how are you all the time. There are times you're going to have to be the bit of the disciplinarian kind of in the scenarios that you're in, but you can still be professional and proactive and respect your staff, and that's important. The stats may also shed some light in the topic as well. Metrics can offer insight into workload, stress, and call recordings can measure what is happening inside the call. Agents are not always at fault for their behavior. Sometimes what looks like call avoidance is something else. Okay? Metrics and call reviews may indicate inefficiencies or that an agent's struggling with some call types or customer types. Okay? So agents might be struggling here. These factors could lead to call avoidance. If there's evidence of call avoidance, the root cause could be found by looking at the calls. Training agents themselves, checking in with staff is critical as well. Okay, that's going to be something you want to do. It is crucial to ensure that they are heard, respected, and helped with problems affecting their work. These may be financial, medical, or family-oriented. These are important things to take into account. Now, if these are ruled out and avoidance is present, then basically a problem needs to be dealt with. There has to be some attention paid to it. If it is ruled that there is a root cause, then someone in management can address the issue. If it's not willful, it is something else, and you need to look at it as to why is this person doing this? Are they stressed out? Are they facing some real serious problems at home? Let's talk to them. Let's find out what's getting under their skin that causes them to do this, and let's see if we can proactively fix this before we take the corrective action steps. That's what you want to first do. Then, if necessary, if you see this as willful or if this continues even after you've provided all the supports and they're still doing it, then you want to go to corrective. Team building and development is important, so you want to have that. Developing a good flexible policy that scales up and down is essential. A zero tolerance policy is the worst thing that you can do. Deploying such a thing to tackle call avoidance, that's not really a great way to handle this. Doing that will create more of it. Not going to work in your best interest. The carrot and stick approach is better. Rewarding team members also helps here. Okay, so you want to have an approach that's carrot and stick in this particular corrective action that you want to take with respect to the issue. Above all, the best way to avoid call avoidance is to offer customers other ways to resolve issues besides calling in. Companies can help resolve many issues through automated systems and chat channels. Online FAQ sites with how-to instructions can also remove the stress on agents, as the customers can get answers there instead of calling in. Reducing call volume will help reduce staff stress and the call avoidance problem. That's right, lower, not eliminate. No company will ever eliminate call avoidance, but you can mitigate it. So the takeaway here is as follows. 1. Craft a solid policy that explains what call avoidance is and what corrective action will be used to stop the behavior. Ensure it is easy to understand and everyone from managers to agents knows what it is and how it will be addressed. Avoid at all costs zero tolerance policies on this. It will fail, cause unnecessary turnover, and create more resistance than compliance. Engage with agents. Find out what's happening in their lives. What may be causing them to avoid calls? Is this skill versus will? Stress, or is this an agent who is willfully breaking the rules? Offer resources to staff who are stressed out or facing problems outside the work. If this is a willful act, make it clear it will need to stop and escalate corrective action if it is not stopped. All right. So, yeah, you do want to take corrective action, but make sure it's reasonable and staggered in a manner that is proactive. So you still want to say, look, we're here to help you out. We'll do what we can. We'll work together on your issues, but at the end of this, you do need to comply with this. If you don't, these are the steps that are going to be taken up to, including the termination of your employment. Check the call volumes and stats to see if there are signs of that the calls might be avoided. If this is happening, it's wrong. It's a wrong thing for an agent to avoid calls. Frankly speaking, some customers are despicable people, as I mentioned. The call volumes may be too high and the staffing level may be too low. Also factor in training. Sometimes staff needs to have a refresher done here. Training will help manage calls and the customer as well. So it's important to do that. Offer incentives and rewards for excellence. Sometimes managers also need to look the other way on minor infractions like being late for 5 minutes here and there, and quality scores. Yeah, sometimes you need to pass an agent. What's more likely to be done here is something like this. Let's say, for example, an agent does A and C as opposed to A, B, C. Okay, on a quality score, you might want to look at this and say, yeah, I'm going to pass you this one time. Okay, next time it's a fail. You shouldn't skip B. You need to do B. But in this particular instance, I could see where this helped the customer still. You still got to resolve. So we'll take this as a takeaway for you on this particular call. We'll let it go. But in future, you need to do this. If that's okay with you, we'll go with that. So sometimes, every now and then, you need to back away from corrective action and doing something that is going to basically create more stress for the advisor or agent. You need to just let them breathe a little bit and just let it go. Let it go. Sing that song by whatever singer who sang it in, was it Frozen? Let it go, let it go. You need to let it go sometimes. You just need to say, okay, that wasn't a good thing to do, but I'm going to let it go because you know what? You're still doing a good job in other aspects of this particular thing. Lastly, I want to address anger. That's another thing that might be affecting this as well. If people are angry or annoyed with their managers or with other staff members or with customers, that's the thing that you have to address. Why is the person angry? What's causing that anger? Is it's something that's upsetting them. For example, let's look at right now what's going on in the Middle East. Pretty sad. So people are upset, angry, and just frustrated by what's going on. So that might come into play in your call center. You need to basically be proactive and address that. Talk to your staff and let them know, hey, you're here to help. And if there's upset regarding something outside of work, you're here to help and bring it down. Maybe it's a staff member who has a conflict with somebody else. The other day, I had a staff member working with me. They were trying to tell me, and they were right. They were trying to tell me I needed to do A, B, and C. And I was saying, no, I don't really need to do that. It got into a bit of it wasn't a shouting match, but it got into a bit of a discussion. And at one point I said, go away, in a much more harsher tone than what I'm saying right now. It really wasn't right for me to do that. It's actually a breach of policy. I should have known better, and it was just a really stupid thing for me to do. And then another person also I got into a bit of a scuffle with. I used some language in our chat. Dude. Some people don't like the word dude or buddy. Again, not a good thing, and it basically got into a back and forth. We want to avoid these kinds of things. We want to avoid anger amongst ourselves in the teams and also between managers, and we want to address that. So I think in retrospect here, it was a bad decision on my part to go forward and let my temper get the better of me. And we need to all work on that, and we need to understand that there's stresses outside right now that are impacting what's going on inside our workplaces, and there's a rise in this, and this is something we really truly need to address, because it also will spew into what's going on in the call and cause call avoidance. We get an angry customer. I'm dealing with this at work. I don't need to deal with this with them. Off goes the call. So it is something to really take seriously, and I would encourage managers who might be listening to this particular podcast, really sit down and take a look at what's going on, and honestly take seriously what I've said today, particularly about your own call center. If your center has critters running around it, if it smells like pee, if you're cramming your staff in there like sardines, if your managers, if you're like a senior manager, if your managers are jerks, you need to address that. You're just really not going to help yourself and your business in the end if you're acting like you don't care, or if you really don't care. In my estimation, you shouldn't be running a call center. But if you're one of these people that really cares and wants to develop your business and have a great call center, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that resources are there. You're incentivizing the staff, even doing things like offering a lunch every now and then. It's going to help people feel better, even for nothing, just for the fact that they came into, even for the fact that they just came into work. I've actually had that happen. Like, thanks for coming in, have some lunch. Do things like that, and you'll see the stress levels lower. Also provide, as I noted, other channels for customers, and make sure that when you develop a policy regarding call avoidance, you are doing something that is proactive and corrective at the same time. There's a time for corrective action, there's a time for letting it go. And I think you'll find this is something that you can reduce. You won't eliminate it, but you'll get a better grip on it. And thank you very much for taking the time to listen to Tales from the Cube. You can hear us on all the major channels like Spotify. iHeartRadio is where we're also at. You can find us They can even find us on Prime, which is really interesting. Yes, believe it or not, you can find us there as part of your reading or listening. You can do that. I'm going to let you go. I'll let you carry on with the rest of your day. I hope that you have an awesome day. We'll see you in episode 20, which is going to be a little bit more or less a light episode. I think we're going to go light on the next one here because we've done some heavy topics. But we'll see you in the next episode. My name again is Cliff. See you very, very soon. Thanks for listening to Tales from the Cube. You can hear us on all the major podcast platforms such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. We'll see you in the next episode.